What's up everybody, welcome to the part 2 of building the portfolio template using HTML, CSS and JavaScript video series. So in this part we're gonna build this my work section and then the client section. So let's get into it without a further ado. So here we've got the code from the previous video. I'll link it down in the video description as the starter files for this video. So before we move on, what I'm gonna do is add a comment here. So I'll say header. So for each section that I'm gonna start in the HTML, I'll use this comment. So here I'll say my work, and now let's start writing the markup. So I'm gonna use the section HTML element for it. So I'll say section, and then what I'm gonna do is use a row container so that I could get this centering of the contents in the middle of the screen, and so that they don't span like the entire width and they don't go to the edges. So I'll say h2 and then my work, and let's head over to the browser. So this is how it looks. Of course it's not readable because we have the text color set to red, to white, and white is invisible. So what I'm gonna do is apply a background color to the body. So what I'll do is go here and I'm gonna create a variable called black, and then I'm gonna give it a value of let's say 0 1 0 1 0. It's not purely black, it's almost like pure black. So let's come down here and I'm gonna say background color. So background and then color, and I'm gonna set that to the black variable. And here you can see the white text on the dark background is showing up. Now of course this is too small, so let's make it bigger. So what I'm gonna do is come down here and I'm gonna say so what I'm gonna do is, so the H1s and H2s and H3s, all of them are gonna have the heavier font weight. So we're loading two font weights from Google Fonts. So one is 300 and the other is 400. So 400 is going to be dedicated to the headings. So what I'll do is write a group selector here. So h1, h2. So and then I'm going to say font weight, and I'm going to set this to 400. And for the body, I'll say that the font weight is going to be 300. So this is how things look with the change in place. So now let's make the size of h2 bigger here. So h1 has a font size of 7.5 rem, that is 75 pixels. So I'm gonna say font size, let's go with 60 pixels, and yeah, this looks good. What I'll do is now is extract these into this root declaration block. So I'll say dash fs for font size, and then I'll say h1, and that is 7.5 rem. So the reason why I'm doing this is just to have like a central place where I could customize all the things from, instead of going to the specific parts later down in the CSS. So I might not be reusing the fsh1 variable again and again. So h2, I'll say 6 rem, and now I'm gonna replace it here. So here I'll say var and then fsh2, and I'm gonna bring this up to where we have the styles, like the other styles for the headlines. So here we go. Now so we have this underline beneath the headings. So and that is specific to the H2s, like the H1s don't have it. So let's create this. So I'm gonna come here and I'll say H2. So it will target all the H2s on the page, and then I'm gonna say after. So I'm gonna be using generated contents for it. So generated contents are a way of adding content to our markup via CSS. So for it to display on the page, we must be using the content property, and here I can type in test. And now if I head back over to the browser, you'll see that H2 has the content test like inside of it. So if I inspect this, so H2 now has like this after, and the contents of it are like the text test. So we don't want anything here. So what we're gonna say is that we're gonna set the display to block, because the line that we want to display, we want it to start on its own line. And I'm gonna say height, let's go with 3 pixels, and for the width, let's go with 10 rem. I'm gonna change this to 0.3 rem just to stay consistent, and let's set a background color. So we're gonna be using the pink color. And if I head back over to the browser, we're indeed seeing the underline. So yeah, I'm gonna make it a bit bigger. So let's go with 12 rem. That is gonna be 120 pixels. And yeah, let's add like a bit of space between the text and the line. So I'll say margin top, and let's go with 10 pixels. Yeah, I think it looks good. Now the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna write the base styles for the second element. So one thing that you might notice in the design is that if we were to closely look, so the space above the title here, and like at the end of the second, so from this image to this border, and then again at the top of the title, and then at the bottom, so all of this spacing is consistent. So using consistent spacing makes the design look cleaner. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say padding, and I'm gonna go with 120 pixels at the top and bottom, and nothing for the left and right. So let's see how it looks. Yeah, it looks fine. Maybe let's go with 10 RAM for now, and we'll see if we need to revise this further. So yep, looking good. Now I'm gonna come down here to the markup, and I'll create a div. So, and I'm gonna give this a class of workbox, and then inside of it I'm gonna create two divs. So I'm gonna type in div and then asterisk and then 2, and if I press tab, now I have two div elements at my disposal. So I'm just gonna copy the contents from here. So here we have the h3. So h3. So I'm gonna give it the text that I copied over from here, and then a paragraph. So p, and then the contents inside of it, and then we have a unordered list. So I'm gonna copy these from here and I'll paste them here. I'll say ULLI asterisk 4 to get the markup for the 4 list items. So now I'm gonna cut it, paste it here. And yeah, and then we have these two links. So one is a link to visit this portfolio template. The other is the other link is an icon that points to the source code on GitHub. So for that, I'm gonna create a div, and inside of that I want two links. So the first one is gonna say visit site. So visit site, and I'm gonna add a right arrow at the end like we do here. And then for the other link, I think we have a GitHub. Yeah, we do have a GitHub SVG that we are gonna use here. So I'm gonna use an image tag here, and as the source, I'm gonna say images/github.svg, and then inside of the alt attribute here, I'll type in the name. So type in the alt text that describes this image. So in this case, it's a logo mark of GitHub. So putting GitHub here is fine. And yeah, so here we have the first part of the markup done. So here what I'm gonna do is use an image element, and then for the source here I'll say images, and then project1.png. So we already have all the images here inside of the images directory. So for the alt, I'm gonna put so essentially this text. So I'll say portfolio template, and let's see how it looks in the browser. So here is what we've got. Now let's style it. So I'm gonna copy this and I'll add a new comment here. So I'll say section here, and so here I want to put my work, and now here. So to target this, I'll target it from, like we are using a class selector, so I'll say dot work dash box, and I'm gonna set the display to flex, and with that everything comes into a row. So the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set a max width on the image, like the image, so that it doesn't appear as big as is the case here. So what I'm gonna say is, so I'm gonna give these two classes. So here I'll say work box text, and here I'm gonna say work box image, and I'm gonna close this. So dot work box image, and I'm gonna set the max width to 726 pixels. So I'm putting this on the container, and now what I'm gonna say is dot work box image, select that div, and then style the image inside of it, and I'm gonna set the max width of the image to be 100%. So now it is gonna take whatever space the parent has. So this is how it looks. And yeah, another thing that I want to do before we move on, so I'm coming up here to the basic setup block, and I'll say for the images I want the object width to be contained. Now what this CSS rule is going to do is that it is going to make sure that the aspect ratio of the images is preserved. So yeah, you can read more about it on MDN, or just let me know it down in the comments if you want to know more about it. And yeah, now let's use some gap here as a space between the text and the image. So what I'll do is come up here, and I'm gonna use the gap property. So I'll say 8 rem, so 80 pixels. I think it looks good. Let's maybe go with 9 rem for now. Yep. Now let's style the H3. So I'm gonna come here. So here it should be our FS H1, and here I'm gonna make a new variable for the H3. So let's go with maybe 3.6 rem or 36 pixels, and here I'll say H3, and I'm gonna set the font size to or h3. Maybe let's use an even bigger font size. So let's go with 4 RAM. Yep, it looks good. Yep. Now let's add some spacing above this section, so between this headline and these, like this black box. So what I'm gonna say here is margin top, and let's maybe use 3 RAM, so 30 pixels. Yep. So the other thing that I'm gonna do is, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna give this a class of GitHub icon for like the GitHub icon. So I'm gonna say dot work box and then dot get icon, and I'm gonna set its height to 30 pixels. Yeah, it looks good. The next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna align the text so in the middle here in the y direction. So currently it is aligned at the top of the flex container. So for that I'm gonna use align items, and I'm gonna say center, and yeah, here we go. Now let's add some spacing between the like the headline and then the paragraph and then the voice item and the buttons. So let's say what I'm gonna say here is so we gave a class of dot work box text, and I'm gonna select all of the direct children's, and I'm gonna say let's set a margin top of, let's say, 3 RAM, and 3 RAM is a bit too much, so let's go with 2 RAM. Yep, 2 RAM looks good. Now before we move on further, what I'm gonna do is create some variables for spacing. So like as I talked about that, like these sections have consistent padding at the top and the bottom, so it's usually a good practice to have like a scale for spacing. So what I've seen from good designs is that they follow like a consistent spacing, like they have some guidelines where they will have some variables like 8 to 10 spacing variables or however many, and they will reuse them consistently as opposed to coming up with new values again and again. So like for instance, if they have some buttons, they will have like consistent paddings inside of them throughout the entire site, and like they'll have a scale. So for instance, this spacing here and this spacing here, like it will be consistent, so they're not like gonna use like for instance 58 pixels here and then 62 pixels there. So just to stay consistent, so I'm gonna create that spacing scale. So I'm gonna say gutter small, and I'm gonna set that to 2 RAM, and then gutter let's say this is x small, and this is gonna be small. I'll say 3 RAM, or let's go even further, so xx small, and then this is gonna be x small, and then small is gonna be 4 or 40 pixels, and medium is gonna be 6 rem. Medium, so let's go with 6 rem, and yeah, so here so here we're using 3 rem, so I'm gonna replace that with gutter x small, and then here it is gonna be gutter xx small, and so for the second padding we have like 10 rem, so I'm gonna create a variable for that, so I'll say gutter large, so let's say 8 rem, and then gutter huge is gonna be, or gutter gutter huge, let's go with 10 rem. So yeah, so here as opposed to 9 rem I'm gonna use 8 rem, so I'll use gutter large, and then for the second I'm gonna say gutter huge, so just so that our design looks consistent. Yeah, as the next step, what I'm gonna do is style the list, so unordered list. So in the base styles, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say that all the unordered list are gonna have a list style of none by list style position inside. So initially we had these bullet points outside of the container, but now they are inside. And before we move further, another thing that I am gonna do is create an off-white color. So I want the body text to have a lighter shade of white. So like the idea here is that, so like the headlines are like the most important sort of part or thing in the UI, so here the name is the most important thing, and then this text and these nav links are sort of secondary. So yeah, so the color can be used to specify the hierarchy, so I'm gonna do that here. So let's start with white here, and then I'm gonna use the color picker to bring its opacity a bit down. So yeah, this might look good. So what I'm gonna do here, so I'm gonna come down here to the body selector. So here I've set the color to white, which I'm gonna swap with off-white, and then here, so I'll bring edge 3 into the mix, and I'm gonna say font, sorry, not font size, what did I want it to do? I just forgot. Yeah, I wanted to give all the headings the white color, so I'll say white, and yep, it looks good. So yeah, let's style this part. So I'm gonna come down here, and I'm gonna give this a class of work dash box links, And in the CSS, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna say work box, and then links. I'm gonna set the display to flex, and then I'm gonna set align items to center like this. And next thing is I'm gonna give some spacing between both of these, so I'm gonna say gap, and let's go with x small, like 3 rems. Yep, it looks good. And before we move on further, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a space between, so there is already a space between the text and the arrow, so I'm gonna add like 2 spaces. So I'm using NBSB, so non-breaking space. So it's not what it's meant for, but I'm like using it as a hack here. Like I could have wrapped this arrow in a span and then applied some margin, but I'm gonna go with this. So yeah, now the next thing that we're gonna do is apply this border. So we'll come to this hover effect later on, so we'll revisit the button in the header later on in the video series. So I'm gonna so give this link a class of so button text, and I'm gonna come here in the CSS and go to the base styles. So here where we have specified the base styles for the button class, I'm gonna put the styles for button text here as well. So it is gonna have a display of inline block as well. And then for the padding, we're gonna have like, I think, so padding 10 pixels at the top and bottom, and like 0.4 rem for the left and right. And let's add a 1 pixel pink border, so border bottom, so border bottom, and I'm gonna say 1 pixel solid, and then we're gonna use the pink variable here. Let's see how it looks. Oh, actually we put the class on the wrong link, so this wasn't meant to be the GitHub link, but it was instead this link. So yeah, it looks good. Yep, it looks pretty close. So I'm gonna increase the padding in the X direction by a bit. And yeah, it looks good. So let's move on to adding the other projects. So actually, before we move on, let's add this hover style to the GitHub link. So as we hover over it, it grows in size and there is like a transition. So for that, I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna say, so I'm gonna give it a class. So I'll say gh link, and so I think we can remove this gh icon class from here. So what I'm gonna do is say gh link, and as there is gonna be only one image inside of like the gh link class, so we can like get rid of that and just use the image type selector. And then I'm gonna say ch link, and I'm gonna say that whenever it's hovered or whenever it gets the focus state, transform it and then scale it by 150 pixels for 50%. So by default it's like taking 100% of its size, but when it is hovered, I want it to scale. So if I come back here and hover over it, it becomes like 150% of its size. Now, of course, the transition is a bit sort of like glitchy and not smooth. So for that, we're gonna add a transition to the link. So for that, I'm gonna use the transition CSS property, and I'm gonna say all, and the duration that I'm gonna give it is gonna be 0.2 seconds. So now it's smooth, but I think it's too fast. So let's go with 0.3 seconds, and I'm gonna say only scale it up to like 130%, and yeah, it looks good. So if I inspect now, for some reason, so these two doesn't look aligned, and that is because here, these look aligned, so the icon here and then the link, so they look perfectly aligned, but so I think this is because of the fact. So let's make the icon a bit smaller maybe. So I'll say 2.8 rem by default. So we've already gave it like align items, but because of the fact of like the padding and stuff, because we don't have like a background here yet, it looks a bit misaligned. So I think it's fine, and we can move on. One thing that I might want to do is reduce the padding in the X direction. So let's go with 0.8 rem. Yeah, it looks good. Now let's add the other projects. So I'm just gonna copy this entire work block, and then I'm gonna paste it twice, and then we're gonna replace the content. So yeah, this is how it looks. Of course, this is not what we want. So we want the spacing here to be like big. So if we're gonna create another gutter, so it's 10 rem. So we're gonna, let's say, go with gutter huge and gutter insane, maybe not a good name. I'll say 18 rem, and then I'm gonna come here and I'll say second, and not last, sorry, not here. So here I'm gonna target all the work boxes. So I'll say select all the work boxes, and I'm gonna use the negation selector. So here I'm saying select all the boxes except from the last one, and here I'm gonna apply margin button, or let's do it the other, yep, margin button. So let's go with the variable that we created. So gutter insane, and yeah, it looks good. So we might want to increase the size of gutter inline. So I'm gonna go with 20 RAM. Yeah, it looks good. And now so I'm gonna pause the video and update the content. So yeah. So we now have the markup written down for the other project. So I just went ahead and copied the first one and just replaced the text and the images. So we're gonna leave the links empty for now. So this is how it looks. So another thing that I've noticed is that in the sort of the live side, we have the background stay sort of fixed as we scroll. So let's implement that. So I'm gonna come here. So here. So I'll say background attachment, and I'm gonna say fixed. So once I do that, we get the same effect. Now let's move on to this client section. So I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna minimize this section, and I'll copy this comment here, and I'm gonna paste it here, and here I'll say clients, and then as the my work section, I'm gonna start off by writing a second element, and then I'm gonna use a row, and in here I'm gonna say an h2 that is gonna say clients, and then a div where I'm gonna be placing all of the logos. So I'm gonna use image tags for them. So here I can say, I can give this div a class of clients, and then here I'm gonna use and some image tags. So how many client logos do we have? So 1 2 3 4 5 6. So I'm gonna use image here. So I'm gonna say image asterisk 6. This gave us 6 image tags. So so first up we have Ron Jones, Golden, and then Bullseye. So here I'm gonna say images slash Ron Jones, and for the alt text I'm gonna put Ron Jones. For the second one we have Golden Great Bullseye. So images and then golden grid. So and bullseye. I'm gonna make the B bigger. And the final three are Mighty Furnitures, Fastlane, and Shipping. So the furnitures, this is gonna be Fastlane. So Fastlane, and lastly Shippy or GP. I'm not sure whether I pronounced this correctly. So let's see how these look. So yeah, so like these are just some random logos, like they are not all real companies or real world entities, and I wasn't able to find like the dark mode versions of them, so they like have a white background and they are all black. So what we're gonna do here is use a bit of CSS trickery to make them appear as they are dark. So we're gonna be using the filter. So CSS, we're gonna use a CSS filter. So I'm gonna copy this comment, and here I'll say clients, and then here I'll target.div, and I'm gonna say that select all of the images inside of the client section, and then I'm gonna set the filter to be grayscale 100%, and then I'm gonna invert it as well, so that white becomes black and black becomes white and vice versa. And then so as here, so we don't have these purely white, so they are like a bit sort of blended in the background. So I'm gonna set opacity to 0.8%, so like 80% as well. So yeah, this looks good. And now I'm gonna say so apply a width of let's say 200 pixels to each one of these. So 200 pixels is a bit more, so let's inspect what we have got here. So height is 6.5 RAM and max width is 18 RAM. So we're gonna do the same here. So I'm gonna say height. So let's use 65 pixels. Now you might be noticing why I'm using pixels here. So like back when I developed the original template, I didn't know this, so I got a chance to work with Istabel. Like he has some great courses on front-end masters, so I got the chance to work with her on like Gitboard website, and he told me like it's best to use pixels for images, and for font setting things and stuff, RAMs are the best. Like I don't know what's the reason behind it, so I'm gonna like I'm doing this because of this. I might do some research about it in the future. So I'm gonna say max width and 18 RAM, so it is gonna be 180 pixels, and yeah, it looks good. And I'm gonna say clients, I'm gonna set the display to be flex, and I'm gonna say justify content, and I'm gonna say space between, so it is gonna evenly distribute all of the space between the different logos. Now let's add some spacing like between the headlines and the around the logos. So I'll use padding for that, so I'll say padding, and let's use gutter medium or large maybe. So let's first try gutter medium. So gutter medium, and yeah, gutter medium, and we only want it in the X direction, like not at the top and bottom, in the Y direction. Sorry, we only want it in the Y direction and not left and right in the X direction. So yeah, it looks good. And as a final thing for this video, you might be noticing that we have like this border bottom going on here at the bottom of every section. So what I'm gonna do is come here and I'm gonna say border 1, and let's go with like 2 to 2. So it's a lighter version of the black that we have. So of course we need to give it the border width and the border style, and yeah, this is how it looks. Sorry, we're not here. So yeah, this is how it looks, and it looks good. So the other thing that I want to do is that I want to yeah, I think it's fine to apply it to the bottom of every second element. Like we don't need to do what we done here. Like we only applied this to like the bottom up like apart from the last one. So every workbox has this big spacing apart from the last one. I think we don't need to do this here. So yeah, that's it for this video. So I'll be hopefully be making the next video this Sunday. Sorry that this one got delayed because of some personal matters. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions or something was unclear. I'll be more than happy to answer, and make sure you subscribe to my channel and give this video a good old thumbs up. And yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for watching.